Five, four, three.
Good evening, and welcome to the Reel McCoy. I'm your host, Meffistoe, and always with me, my hetero life mate. Oh, my feelings. How you doing, sir?
Good. How you doing, buddy?
What? What do you want? Stop. What is the Reel McCoy, you might ask? The Reel McCoy is your weekly movie podcast where we ask you to go and watch a movie. You come back, you watch it, come back to us, and we break it down for you, and we nerd out on it completely. Today, we've got a little bit of help by Mr. Extra Zero. How are you doing, sir?
Hey, I'm doing fantastic. I'm glad to be here. Really excited to talk about this one because I'd never seen this one before, and yeah,
Ooh, boy, we got a lot to talk about.
we do. We absolutely do.
Now, this is a very special occasion because we don't have you for a very long time, but we do have your perspective because Mr. Oh My Feelings loves this movie. I don't like this movie at all, and you've watched it for the very first time, so it's going to be a cool little trio. So before we begin, please go to Mr. Extra Zero, follow him on Twitter, follow him on YouTube or whatever, because he has
Extra08 on Twitter.
Exactly. You do all that, and you follow him because you do like 3 different shows, and none of them are on your YouTube channel.
Well, yeah, my YouTube channel is kind of a dead channel. I started it, like in 2006-ish, and I started off doing toy reviews. So there's like 2 reviews that are left from that Transformers 2007 toy line, and I was doing some writing work for a site called Powit.tv. I think it's defunct now, but I was doing written game reviews and the occasional video toy review for them. Then I'd pop on to the Powit cast starting in 2010, and then I just kind of lost touch with all of them. And then I got back into the toy space in 2017, and then in 2018 I started the Figure Action Podcast. Check us out on YouTube, youtube.com/Figure Action Podcast. We've got a regular Thursday show, and then we've got kind of an interview show we're doing. We're bringing in industry people. We actually have some of the guys that were with the Four Horsemen. If you know anything about them and their sculpt work, they used to work with Todd McFarlane. I don't want to butcher the name of the Kickstarter they're doing. It's Legendary, the Legendary action figures toy line. They're doing this Kickstarter right now. Again, former Four Horsemen guys. We're gonna have them on Monday at 8.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah. So our regular show is on Thursdays. It's Thursdays at 9 Eastern. We talk toy news, industry news. We have to, kind of discussions about what's going on in the collector spaces. Then, of course, I'm on the Legion of Memers meme stream. I'm the producer for the show. Got a pretty big presence on Twitter. For that, I post memes all the time. If you like memes and you're in with any of the fellowship people, I post a lot of those memes. I meme the hell out of Side Scrollers podcast. And then on Sundays, I do a show on Beelzehub with Devil Made Me Do It called Get Ranked, where we take random things that we want to rank. This week it's 80s pop bands, and we're going to rank them D to S.
It's gonna be slaughter.
Yeah.
I know it is. I've seen that last one. Oh boy. Anyway, if you want to follow me, Meffistoe on Twitter, at Meffistoe79 on Instagram, and you can always email the show, the Reel McCoy podcast at gmail.com. And on that address, you will find a YouTube channel that all the archived podcasts that we have here on this channel that are live are going to go there as an upload. If you want, you go ahead, blah, 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 all that good stuff, because YouTube is being a bitch for reuse content, and I don't like them for doing that. So it's going to be over there. So we start the show, as we do every show, with a little bit of behind the screens.
Action, take 2.
Behind the screen is where we go to all my feelings and get the lowdown on everything behind the scenes, production, creative, all that good stuff. Take it away, sir.
Okay. The original concept actually came from Michel Gondry and Bismuth. They actually thought about the idea after Bismuth had a conversation with one of his friends who was a female, and she was complaining about her ex-boyfriend. And he asked her, would you erase him from your memory if you could? And she said, yes. Paul Bismuth originally thought of this as an idea for an experiment, an artistic experiment, to send people random notes saying that someone in their life that they knew had erased them.
Okay.
Thankfully, he never completed that experiment.
I think he said to Gondry, wouldn't it be interesting if someone would have sent you in the mail that sort of letter that someone erased from your memory?
No, he actually had it set up as a full planned out experiment.
Oh, really?
With lists of address that he was actually going to send them to.
And that kind of that little sentence kind of sparked Gondry's interest in what Bismuth was doing.
And this concept,
what you said,
and then he went to Charlie Kaufman with the concept, and they developed it into a pitch. But they thought it was so completely out of the box, it would be totally unmarketable. It was going to go nowhere after that. Then a small bidding war happened for the rights, without any of the screenplay written at all yet.
Oh, okay.
So the pitch was only done.
The treatment. So they wrote some sort of a treatment, and upon that they got oof.
So
okay,
again, low 7 figures, but low 7 figures for a treatment.
Yeah, that's
pretty
much.
good.
That's a lot.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
So it was Propaganda Films who bought the rights. They are defunct.
Yes.
They've been purchased, and then who purchased them was purchased by another.
Yeah, at the moment, it's under a group called Focus.
Focus Films.
Focus Films. Yeah.
Yep. So after it was bought, Kaufman actually didn't work on the screenplay.
Yeah, he worked on something else.
He finished Adaptation, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, and Human Nature, which oddly enough was Gondry's first his directorial debut.
And it's another weird movie.
It's not a weird movie. It's just
It is. It explores something that you wouldn't even think about normally. You know what I'm talking about. If you've
Yes.
seen the movie.
But
Never mind. Continue. I thought it was
originally
weird. Never mind.
the name of the screenplay was 18 words long.
Okay.
And and he said, no one will ever want to put this out because it could never fit on a marquee.
But they did release Birds of Prey, The Innocence of whatever, blah, blah, blah.
Emancipation. You know what's funny, not to derail, but there was another Jim Carrey movie that didn't fit on a marquee and was really funny.
Mm-hmm.
Fun with Dick and Jane. And I remember going to Cinemark and seeing it just said Fun with Dick on the marquee.
With side note, that is actually a really good comedy.
It is. It is.
Yeah, I think, is it with Renee Zellweger?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the one. I've seen it once. I've seen it once.
Okay. With Tia Leone was in that, I think, too.
Tia Leone? Never mind. Keep going.
Yeah. Anyway, so it actually got put back down to the original version, which is now Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, because he had actually just learned of the actual quote from the poem by
Alexander Pope.
Yeah.
Pope Alexander.
Yes, Pope Alexander. Or
but after he was still working on the screenplay constantly throughout this time. But he was still working on these other projects. So, but after Nolan had released Memento in 2000, he actually had to go back, downplay all the science fiction angles, and make it so rewrite all the memory scenes so they weren't just blips in points of the script. So he actually put in degradation after Memento.
Oh, okay.
So that's Memento actually played a very heavy influence on this film.
Okay.
Yeah, I do want to talk when we get into talking about it. I hearing Mephisto doesn't like this one. I'm curious about the way the film's cut, if that plays a part into your feelings.
Keep going on my feelings. Keep going.
Okay.
So, again, $20 million budget, $74 million gross for what is basically a giant fucking art house spectacle. This did very well for itself.
Yes.
And it's also currently rated above number 29. It beat The Wizard of Oz as one of the best screenplays of all time.
And it's higher on not Siskel's list, on Ebert's list.
Roger Ebert's list.
Ebert's list.
It's his favorite list
really
of
high.
the 2000s.
It's insane.
Yeah, he absolutely loves this film.
Yeah.
Alain Kuras, who is the DP,
Mm.
had such a difficult time actually trying to encapsulate the vision that Gondry had, because he wanted to actually just use exclusively available light, which available light is there's no backlighting. There's no, you have to use what is available on the original shot. So they would have it so it was lighted, so the screen was lit, and she would hide bulbs in different spots in every single shot in order to get the correct lighting. By still following Gondry's vision, which hats off to her. I don't know how the hell she could pull that off.
Not only that, a lot of the scenes where you see camera work, or when you got the spotlight at certain places, it's not, there's no CGI, no nothing. It's all about
it's
two camera people and be coordinated by the director.
We're gonna get to that.
Okay.
There was one scene in one of the memory sequences Specifically where Joel's talking to the doctor that looked like it was filmed on like a lower spec camera. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, but there was no usage of extra things to make it happen. So the people didn't appear. There's no extra cuts.
Right.
All a single motion. It's a single scene. Sort of like if you think about like a play and you've got the lighting that spots different places on the stage, kind of like that.
Yeah, right. Now, when you say there's no CGI, though, I thought some of the face effects were...
Two scenes, but all my feelings will cover those.
Probably. Okay.
Yeah. So the cast was actually able to improvise a great deal of their performances, especially Mark Ruffalo was given pretty much free reign as Stan. A lot of the Patrick stuff with Elijah Wood, he was given a great deal of freedom because, oddly enough, Kaufman was a giant fan of his performance in Lord of the Rings.
Of course.
And the dialogue between Carrey and Winslet seemed so intimate and very off the cuff, because they had actually recorded, and a lot of the dialogue of these recordings were utilized in the actual dialogue for the film, where they would actually tape each other just having open conversations as Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet talking about their previous relationships.
Yeah. All right.
During one of those though, there is a bit that was used in the original cut, but was cut later, where Jim Carrey got a little bit upset because Kate Winslet had asked him a little bit too much of a personal question, and he picked up the tape recorder and threw it against the wall.
Shit. Okay.
Let me guess, that had something to do with Jenny McCarthy.
This is before Jenny McCarthy.
Oh, it was. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. For whatever reason, I thought they were early 2000s.
No.
They were about mid 2000s.
Okay.
He had plenty relationships, but most of his relationships were like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, they were brief.
Like they're like long-ish compared to like Hollywood actors. But
yeah.
Okay.
So Nicolas Cage was initially offered the role to play Joel Barish, specifically because of his performance in what film, Meth?
Probably 8mm or Snake Eyes. No?
Leaving Las Vegas.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. That won him the Oscar. Yes.
Yeah. Gondry specifically wanted all the actors in the film to have actually won an Oscar.
Yes. Or been nominated, at least.
Or been nominated, yeah.
Yeah. So,
keep going.
After Nicolas Cage turned down, Denzel Washington was oddly enough offered the role.
Yeah. And he turned down the role because he didn't understand what was in the script.
Yeah, mostly. He didn't understand where the script was supposed to be going, and he did actually later say in an interview with Variety magazine that he wished he would have taken the role.
It would have been a really crazy kind of role, I think.
It would have been very, very different.
Yeah.
So we're going to go on a little tangent here. Beck's cover of Everybody's Gotta Learn Sometime by the Corgis. Everybody knows it. You hear it 10,000 times but with the composer who is Brion, who did the entire score of the soundtrack as well.
Yeah.
Was almost actually was included in his 2002 album Sea Change, that he almost won the Oscar for, but it got held off until this film.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And
I think you asked me last week about Beck, or we talked about Beck at some point, and I told you that I think I told you that I'm not sure. I'm sure. I love that. I love it.
Yeah. The song's fantastic. Like, it's one of the best
fantastic.
covers ever done.
Yes. I love it.
To promote the film, the site lacunainc.com was actually created, and it just showed snippets of the procedure of Joel having it done.
Yeah, they made a false website so
Yeah,
people could
from the
go
Korean
in,
Inc., yeah.
and it literally redirected them to the site, to the official site. So,
That used to be like a big tactic back in that time period. Remember, like Halo 2 had I Love Bees, like that
Yep.
beekeeping website.
Yeah.
yep.
There were a lot of different
Yeah.
films put up just random websites,
Oh,
and a lot of times they wouldn't actually advertise it at all. They
Kevin
just
Smith.
had it out there.
Before
Yeah.
Kevin
Kevin Smith
Smith
had
lost
one,
his
yes.
mind. Yeah, movie
Yes.
poop shoot.
Yeah. Yep. So we're going to talk about Gondry for just a second here. So
Okay.
Gondry would actually give often conflicting advice or suggestions to Kate Winslet and Jim Carrey. Now, he would always tell Carrey that this is a serious, dramatic film, and he has to play it deadpan. He would tell Winslet that no, this is a comedy. You have to amp it up.
No, you're downplaying it. He told everybody in the cast that it's a comedy
Yeah.
and separated Jim Carrey from them and told him it was a serious drama. And it drove Jim Carrey crazy.
Yeah, it is. And it wasn't the first time that Gondry drove Jim Carrey crazy on set, by the way.
Yeah.
But you were talking about this before, Meth, how that he had a different set system on how Gondry would shoot things. So he would actually had a system of controlling cameras that he would inform the operators in French on how to shoot different angles. Nobody on set and none of the actors spoke fluent French. So they had no idea of how he was actually doing establishing shots. So they would have to actually just naturally just kind of keep moving with the cameras. So every take, even though the dialogue was essentially the exact same, they would either be sitting, they'd be moving, they'd be standing. And so you can see extra how that would just throw everything off.
Mm-hmm.
So they had to. He wanted to make sure that the film felt natural, as if not stilted, so it wasn't forced. Because in a lot of situations, when you watch a movie, you're like, how I would not react like that. If I was in a heated argument, I would not be sitting still. I would not be sitting down and screaming at someone. No, I would be up in their face, discussing that, having this verbose argument. That's how he wanted it to feel like if it was a natural movement.
And it's not only that. In some scenes, like when you see facial expressions that the actors do, it's because they see something they really didn't expect. So there's a scene, one of the scenes where Jim Carrey kind of chases Kate Winslet, and it goes around the corner, and suddenly she's not there.
It's a circus scene, and I was waiting to go and talk about that during the circus scene.
Okay,
but
no problem.
But no Extra might not be here during that time. So during the circus scene.
Yeah, there's a certain scene where he's looking for. There's several of them. In one of them in particular, he kind of turns around the corner, and suddenly she's like not there anymore, where she was supposed to be there, giving dialogue back, and he was like going into his spiel, but stops.
No, he stops. He looks around, and he actually says out loud, "Kate."
Yeah.
Because the actress had disappeared. Not looking for look for Clementine.
Yes.
I thought those scenes were masterful because they really embodied what it's like when things don't have real world behavior in a dream. And you get this very, very real sense that you're with him in this dream and things are changing. Like it was very, very immersive. Just the way they were filmed and the way that the ambiance of those scenes. That was one of my favorite elements of this movie.
All right.
See, Extra, I like you already. You're A-okay in my book, buddy.
You always do that. Stop.
Well, I mean, I could, I am curious what it is that's not liked about the movie. I sat and I watched it yesterday for the first time. Originally we were going to watch, or I was going to come on to talk about Falling Down, which is a favorite movie of mine. But I mean, silver lining here is I ended up seeing a movie that, I remember when this movie came out, I was a year out of high school, And I just, there was a lot coming out in that 2004 period, and I was like, a romance dramedy just didn't have my name on it at the time. It was
Yeah.
just a movie that I kind of put on the background. I love Jim Carrey, and I've seen the ball. I think this was maybe like one of 2 movies he's been in that I just hadn't seen. And so I watched it. I was like, yeah, I really wish that I had seen this movie years ago, because it really left an impression on me.
You have to remember, this is after Truman Show came
Mhm.
out. So
Mhm.
people knew Jim Carrey was doing dramatic roles. This was after Man on the Moon came out, right? Man
Yeah.
on the Moon was
Yes.
1999. So everybody knew Jim Carrey can pull it off. But it was still kind of, I remember at the time, it really shocked people. Like, oh my God, he can do this too?
Yeah.
This man is insane. Or
Well,
insanely
it's like Robin Williams. I mean, some of the best
Mm-hmm.
performances that came out of Robin Williams were his dramas.
Yep.
And I really think, after seeing this is maybe his best performance, in my personal opinion.
Interestingly enough, a lot of people think it's better than Man on the Moon and better than Truman Show.
Yep, I agree with that sentiment.
I know.
So one last bit, and then we go
yeah.
we'll go head charge. Kaufman refused to thank Bismuth during his when he actually won the Oscar for best screenplay, because he
Okay.
thought that Bismuth provided nothing.
Okay.
I do have one quick hit too that I only know because I watched this on Prime Video, and they do the whole X-ray thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Seth Rogen originally
Yep.
auditioned for Patrick.
For Patrick.
Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
I do have it in my notes too, which was
Yeah.
weird because I think he could have done it, and it would have been
Yeah.
more creepy. And this is 2004 Seth Rogen. This is
Right before
Pineapple Express,
right.
fresh out of Freaks and Geeks kind of Seth Rogen. So
Donnie
No,
Darko,
this is
Seth
before
Rogen.
this is
Yep.
before the 40-year-old virgin.
yes,
Even. But it also would have been odd to have his laugh. The yes, Lord pays.
that laugh that like skin crawls Tom Connors. Trust me, I know.
Yes.
Anyway, all right.
Everything
before
else
we-
I have is notes for certain
Yeah,
scenes.
we'll just jump into our first game of the night. It is called Missing Marquee. Talking about movies that don't fit in the marquee, we have Missing Marquee, which is 10 posters of movies that have their text written off. We display them in Extra Zero, and our lovely little audience here will have to guess which movie this is. Let's go. Zero, it's all you.
Oh, Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh God, I know this one.
This movie, if you haven't seen it, you probably have seen the meme of it.
Oh, there's so many memes of this. Even Seinfeld did a meme of it with Uncle Leo.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. It's the meme of Robert De Niro laughing at a theater with the cigar.
Cigar.
Yeah, Cape Fear.
Cape Fear is correct.
Oh, Legend.
Legend, correct.
Logan.
Logan.
Paul.
Logan Paul. No.
Logan Paul.
No.
You got it.
Yeah, we got Red there.
Red.
God, that one I don't know.
All right. Let's see if the crowd can catch up. Paul probably knows. Well, not Paul the movie. Paul Harley.
Yes.
Wait, is that the one with Demi Moore in it?
It's not the one with Demi Moore in it. It is
Stigmata. Okay.
I think it's with Halle Berry, but I'm not sure.
Oh,
Haven't
easy
seen the movie.
40-year-old virgin.
We
A
just-
lot
40-year-old
of
virgin.
Rogan hits in there. Rocketeer.
Rocketeer, and last one.
Is that Mermaids?
not mermaids.
No,
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson wasn't in Mermaids.
Jack
Jack-
Nicholson is basically the devil.
Yes.
Oh God. I'm blanking out on that one.
Paul,
He's the devil and Joker all wrapped up into one.
One. That's a fun movie too.
It is. It's a weird movie. It kind of is
It's
like, is this a
really-
comedy or horror? We don't know.
It's really more of a comedy overall,
It
but
is. It's
it
a
has
really-
some.
I would say it's a really dark comedy that plays right into
Paul Harley got it. The Witches. of
right
Eastwick.
into
Yep.
Jack. It is the Witches of Eastwick.
I'm no longer allowed to participate anymore. 0.
I think did that come out around the same time as Death Becomes Her?
Actually, it was a couple
88
years
just
before.
Before,
Yeah.
But that's a
okay.
good call, though. A good call because the writer of Death Becomes Her cited that as a major influence.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
I remember that too.
That's probably Bruce Willis's most underrated movie. Just put that out there.
It came
it
up.
sure as shit isn't
few
Hudson
weeks-
Hawk.
No, it's not Hudson Hawk.
This extra kid. Okay, yeah. Booking back again. He's awesome.
Okay. Too bad.
Kid,
he's
I'm
got a-
almost 40
Too bad
years
he's got a
old.
show that starts like at 4 Eastern.
4 Eastern, yep. So you got me for another 25.
Yeah, no problem. Here we go. So it begins sort of like a weird kind of throw a man into Montauk and let him talk for a bit. It's a
But if you
weird kind of a
notice the-
start from
all
it
of
That's
was
not-
a weird kind of a start.
That's not the movie's beginning. That's the actual beginning.
No, it's actually this is the
no.
film's beginning because this is actually the reversal. So they're
Mhm.
actually pulling essentially a Tarantino in some
Right.
ways, where they are showing the a previous bit of the ending at the beginning.
Right.
Because the way you can tell is the fact that if you notice on his right temple, Joe still has the dot there because they
Right,
didn't
right.
wipe it off of his face.
Yep.
And during their conversation, he walks by Clementine on the beach. He's like, "Well, I want to go to the Montauk, but I don't remember why." Just as an aside, extra, since you won't be here because I know you got to go. The Montauk Whisper was done by not only Kate Winslet, but it was amalgam of her voice and Catherine. I'm gonna butcher her name.
The
Kesrum?
sound
It's-
lady, right? The one that did the
Yes,
mixing.
sound editor from Focus, like the big wig at Focus Films.
Yeah,
came
it
in.
was something about Kate Winslet's whisper that they wanted it to echo or something like that, and it couldn't.
They wanted to echo, but they only had her for one. They only had the executive for one take, so she did one take, and they just kept that in to just bolster.
Yeah,
So they had Kate Winslet do multiple interpretations to match the pacing in her voice when she did the whisper. So they would parody together, and then the sound engineers were able to equalize it out. So yeah.
And then I'm jumping forward a few leaps, but it's so weird because the actual the credits and everything starts at the 18-minute
mark. Well, what's really
insane.
important too is the fact that you can tell that when you watch the film, when you go back and watch it again, extra, you can tell when you start watching, you're like, oh, you can tell that this is actually the second time that they have met.
Well, that clicked for me at the end. That it starts when they're, it was out of order. Like that definitely clicked for me, especially where it clicked for me. And get spoiler territory. I guess everybody watching knows.
No.
Is where he was talking about the first time they met being on the beach, and he was there with David Cross's character. And I was like, well, wait a minute. The movie presents, the first time they really met being at the train station. And that's where it clicked for me. And I was like, oh, okay. So that was in the past, but it wasn't in a way where it was like, it came across as subversion for subversion's sake. It added a whole layer of nuance to the film that I really appreciated, because the thing that made me like the movie from the get-go was the playfulness of them meeting. It felt really organic. It felt like people meeting and really hitting it off in person for the first time. You know, a lot of their back and forth kind of reminded me of when I met my wife and we went on our first date and we had this like kind of, you know, playfulness back and forth, you know, in talks. You know, and I've had some previous relationships too, where, you know, prior to my wife with women that were a bit like Clementine, where they were very like aloof and impulsive, and it just felt very real.
Mhm.
And I that was what I think sucked me in early on, and you really felt, and you liked both of them. You like, you know, it's like watching, you know, I could relate to kind of you know, kind of the reclusive, you know, I keep to myself when I'm out and about sense of Joel, and you know, this kind of like shyness and him being unsure of what he wants in life, and then out of nowhere comes Clementine, and you know, he's trying to play it cool. He doesn't want to get himself hurt because he's trying to get over Naomi. And I really enjoyed how she just kind of comes into his life and they start burning hot and fast. And you're like, you're rooting for both of them. And you know that the heartbreak's going to come. And then that shot of him in his car crying, you have no perception of when that is in time.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, they present it as if a couple years have passed and he's completely heartbroken. I think David Cross's character is Rob. And, you know, he goes to the
Yes.
friend's apartment and he's just having, and again, all of that kind, I think all of us maybe have been there where we're, you know, we go to confide in a friend after a breakup and, you know, we don't know what to do with ourselves. And, you know, then they introduce that element of the memory erasure. And, you know, of course, Rob's like, he can't keep it from his friend. And
Yeah,
I just really love the setup for this.
That's the issue, because at first and like I said, this is all these shots that I put on screen. All of them are from the start, like the first 18 minutes, where it's kind of like, sort of like the trying to feel the movie, right? Those first few moments where you're like, okay, I kind of get what his character is all about. I kind of get what her character is all about. She's like this crazy. It kind of fits with the whole.
Well,
her
the thing
having
is,
the different color of the hair.
yeah.
And what were we gonna say?
Well, we're going to talk about Clementine a lot throughout this, and there's a reason why Kate Winslet. Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, I do have one thing I want to add is I think it was necessary because for you to see that Clementine and like her character, it kind of gives you a sense of what Joel saw in her. And they get into a bit of the uglier side of her and her character. And his too. But I thought that scene, that cut in time for the first 18 minutes is integral to making the film work because it lets you like and really like both of these characters. So when the heartache comes and the ugliness comes out in both of them, you're still so invested in both of those characters because what you saw in the beginning, you're like, I want them to be back to that. I think that's what made it work for me.
Mm-hmm. No, I wholeheartedly agree. But just on the note with the issues of, you mentioned Naomi. And you mentioned the fact that you could tell too from different takes at the beginning that when at the beginning he noticed the fact that like, oh wow, when did I rip out these pages? It looks like I have it written in the journal for the last 2 years. And then he mentions Naomi, which
she was nice.
Naomi was actually they did have a side scene that was shot, but they cut it out featuring Naomi.
Yeah, with Naomi, I don't think she's in the movie or the cut that I had.
No, she's not. The scene was
Ellen
explicitly cut
Pompeo.
out. Yeah,
from what's that show? God damn it! Never watched a single moment of it. Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, but then we also have just on that train ride again, just setups as the like something is completely amiss when the fact that Joel doesn't remember the Huckleberry Hound, oh my darling Clementine, but Clementine knew it, and in their first meeting she didn't know it, but he knew it, and the reason why he didn't know it is because when he went off track there, he actually went to a point that had that memory of him learning the song, and it was erased.
Yep, exactly.
That's clever writing, Meph.
And of course all the lines about the Barnes and Noble that he haunted, and of course,
and to me, I don't know if you've noticed
Blue Ruin is really important to Meph, another film that we had watched before. The song,
Yep. Anyway, I was gonna say
Oh,
what
and
I
also
l-
just as sorry, one
only
last
thing
thing
I
on the train was the punch when she punched him.
yeah, it's
Extra
really her
that was
punching him.
improv.
Yes.
Really?
That
And
Jim Carrey did not
does
say so.
play.
His reaction to getting
Was
punched
real.
was like
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
And the one thing, it was a choice that I respect. I didn't like, but I know why it was there. If you notice or didn't notice, I think you're not supposed to notice for the very first time is when they're talking, there's music, right? There's
Yes.
it's a build
Yes,
up.
yeah,
That was
But
on
when
the
they
X-ray
don't
too.
talk,
Yeah.
when they don't talk, there's silence.
Yeah.
It's to enhance the conversation. You
Mhm.
like build up the noise. When there's an awkward silence, there's a dead silence. All you hear is like the train. It was like, oh shit, something. You're kind of at a point where you're like expecting something, you don't expect something. What you feel is the awkwardness in the room. It's that awkward silence. That's
Yeah.
what they enhanced in that.
And
Was
also,
I can respect that as a choice. I wouldn't have made that choice.
and also on that choice too, that's really more pertinent when it comes to your memories. Because when it comes to your memories, do you remember what's actually playing in the background more often than not?
Hmm.
When you're having it with, like, you remember a conversation you had with somebody, like, oh, I remember when I heard this song when I was talking to someone.
No, not really. You literally hear the cacophony of the room. But if you're sitting down at a restaurant and you having that awkward silence, it's let's say in a date or even a dinner date with your wife or your girlfriend or whatever. If you notice the music, you got a problem. You got
I
a
don't know.
major,
Sometimes
major problem.
it can be really funny, like to notice the music. Like I've gone into restaurants before, and the most absurd soundtrack will play, and I'll make a comment to my wife, like,
Oh, you've been to all the restaurants I've been to. Yeah.
Well, but that's the most important thing, is the fact that when you're having those conversations, the music can just be a cacophony. It could be just random noise in the background. But when you have that awkward pause, that dead silence, your mind remembers the fact that you could hear a pin drop.
Yep, exactly.
And that's what it's trying to portray in the film.
And this is one of the most iconic shots in the movie. It's on the poster. It's on the thumbnail as well.
Well, the U.S. poster, yeah.
Yeah, there was a thing with that lake, if I'm not mistaken, right? Feelings. It was safe enough to shoot on, but it was a challenge. They had to wait to a certain time of year where they shot it at. I don't remember.
Yes.
Where was it location at? What? Not New York. And they don't say the name of the city where they're at. I'm not sure where they shot this at. I frankly didn't see locations anywhere. It's probably in the credits.
It is in the credits. Like I know
But-
that certain scenes were actually shot in Alberta,
I
and
think it was the Charles River in Boston.
yeah, and some were shot in the Charles River too.
But I'm
they changed shots a lot, specifically due to the fact that, like, whenever they had to shoot something that was on water, they had to make sure that the ice was frozen enough to allow
Yes.
even like
And,
overhanging boom.
I think
cameras
Gondry
and
said in
mics.
an interview that I've read that that lake that where they wanted to do the shoot was only safe at a very specific period of time because it's supposed to be not so shallow. And they were like, okay, once it's fully frozen and safe to go on, we're going to do every shot that we can in a very short period of time. And when they saw the cracks, they were deathly afraid it's going to just crack. Really?
Yes,
but
and actually, when Jim Carrey as Joel Barris says, "Well, what about the cracks in the ice? Are you sure this is okay?" That was not a line in the script.
Yes, he was genuinely afraid
because Kate Winslet just went right out in the middle.
All right, so we have that sort of start where he puts in her apartment. He goes to her apartment, gets her phone number. They don't have sex. He comes back home immediately, calls her. It's like, oh,
He doesn't
that-
immediately call her. He waffles a little bit.
Yes, but it's generally speaking that
He
night
waffles
calls
for
her.
about
It's like,
30
that
seconds,
means-
and then he's
yeah,
like,
that means we're married.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, this is like you're thinking,
Yeah, 'cause-
oh no, this is gonna go real bad before you know it's gonna go bad. And then they meet up again and they have that sort of lake kind of thing. It's like, this is very cute, but it started with like real somber with him being like going
But I mean-
to Montauk during the snows. Like,
Yeah.
when does it snow on the beach, by the way? I've never seen snow on the beach, but
It does
Yeah.
on the East Coast.
yeah, okay.
What's so great too is
Yeah.
the way that Joel left that night reflects the way when Joe left the house in their first original meeting.
Yes.
So
yes.
that the characters of who they are naturally didn't change.
Mhm.
Yeah, and to be fair, one comment I've seen that has nothing related to do with the thing about you don't know which city this is, but it's probably the U.S.
Yeah.
Because they do drive to Montauk. Montauk is in New York, but they don't tell you, well, this is New York City. The Jim Carrey is Canadian and Kate Winslet is British.
Yeah, British, yeah.
And they're both supposed to be American. Everybody around them are American as well. It is what it is. Right. So we start off the movie with him crying in the car.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this went
But because you
really bad.
Yeah, like I said, they set that up, and you know the heartache's going to come. But I do want to say one thing to the change in tone of their relationship. I felt that was really real, because a lot of times when you meet somebody, and you start to get the interest, there is always like a tone shift, be it good, be it bad, where you're kind of like the person that you're going out with reveals a little bit more of who they are, because of course, like, you have to make yourself attractive and a little bit playful to make that attraction happen. And then you kind of see, like, is she pushy, is she impulsive, is she reserved? And the thing I liked about Winslet's portrayal of Clementine is she is very open book character for the most part. And there's kind of this very deep contrast between her and Joel and who they are, and he knows it, but he keeps going along with it. And I've been there in my life, and it was very relatable to me.
I would say it did help that Michel Gondry got Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey told him, well, I'm coming off of a bad relationship or a bad breakup. And Gondry is like, good, use it. I
This
want
is
you
perfect.
to use
Yes,
it.
yeah.
And it's like, are you for real? It's like, oh, you need to go deep, even deeper in depression.
What's
crazy.
great too, just as an aside, is when Joel again he gets to see his car,
Yes.
and how and he has no recollection of how that happened, knowing the fact that, like, it was
Blames the
definitely
neighbor.
was at the beginning. But with the conversation with Frank after the crying scene, where he realizes that he has broken up with her. This is like I would say V1 versus V2 Joel. I'll put it that way. So this is
Yes.
definitely V1 Joel. When he's talking with Frank, if you notice, Frank is going through his mail and he has one of those letters from Lacuna Inc.
Yes.
telling him that Joel Barish has had Clementine like deleted from his mind. Don't bring it up. Apparently, he did not read that letter, because later he tells
I
Clementine,
interpreted it
like, "Hey, it's
differently.
good to see you."
Yeah.
Yeah, when
Yeah,
they
good.
kind of meet in that in the bookstore.
Oh yeah, the
she's
conversation
like,
that he's having with Rob and Carrie, David Cross's character Rob, and his wife.
when he goes to the bookstore and is like, "Why are you doing this? I mean, can we not talk about these things?" Sort of like, it seems like they were broken. They were on a break, but not broken up.
Well, no, it doesn't even seem that way. It seems as though, like, she literally left one night and then is like, nope. Again, as she said, I'm impulsive. And everyone around her says, like, well, Clementine's impulsive. So she impulsively got Joel erased. And No one had the heart to tell him before he had a confrontation with her that she had erased him. Because that's by far the most terrible thing about this, is if the person that had been erased should be known that, hey, this person erased you. Because otherwise, if they were going to ever encounter them again, then it's real dodgy.
The thing is, they sent everybody the letter except for his neighbor, apparently, and his best friends couldn't keep him out of it. He was like,
no, his neighbor got
look at
the
this. Right.
But his neighbor got the note. Frank got the note because if you look, he's going through his mail and he has a letter from Lacuna Inc. He just hadn't read it yet when he was talking to Joel about Valentine's Day plans.
Yeah.
So, and again, I'm thinking that I assume that he just never actually read it when he saw Clementine later.
But for a plot device, I kind of gave it a suspension of disbelief because, you know, it's really the sci-fi element of the movie isn't really it's not like a deep sci-fi movie. It's about concept and the ethics of if you could erase someone from your mind.
Yeah.
Are there ethics
more about
to it?
moral? Yeah.
Right.
Morals and ethics rather than the whole sci-fi bit of how you actually manage to do that. Yeah.
Because, you know, the whole thing comes around full circle with Mary and the doctor and the fact that, you know, Mary had a history with the doctor and that was I mean, they didn't really project it, but they got to that one point because it's like there's that. I think that was like the one part of the movie that just kind of threw me through a loop, and it was like the one thing that I thought kind of felt a little forced because, you know, they established Mary and Frank are kind of like this thing. And did anybody else feel like Ruffalo was like trying to be J.J. Abrams there?
Oh, Mary!
Yes.
Oh, Stan.
Dude,
Yes, Stan was.
As soon as he was on screen, it was like I did a full-on double take because remember, JJ was already JJ at the time. He was
Alias.
He was already Alias, Lost. All of that was like
Lost hadn't actually started yet. Lost was still
Lost
in
was
filming.
2001.
No.
Was it Alias that started 2001?
That was Alias.
Yeah.
But anyway, no. With that, what I found the most concerning about that was the fact that with Stan didn't know that Mary had her mind wiped.
Right.
That she had the relationship with Howard. Howard knew, but rehired the poor girl.
Yes. And his wife knew too.
Yeah. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Because
I mean, there is that human element to it where like he felt sorry for her. Oh, you know, I've done this, you know, I can't do this to her, yada, yada, yada. It does happen in real life where people do senseless things, but it did kind of feel like a forced mechanism to, you know, okay, how are they going to, you know, how are they ultimately going to remove the sci-fi element from this, you know, even though it kind of doesn't, they complete the work.
The thing is this with Mary, the whole point of her having that little subplot that is sort of a story within a story is to actually come right back around to put that little stick between the wheels, kind of grind everything up.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, you were right. I was going to say, no, actually, you basically brought it up specifically. It's the ethical quandary of the entire procedure is called into question specifically due to with the entire Mary situation. Now, again, with a lot of the people that are getting their minds wiped, as you saw a lot of them in the offices, they're holding, like, one lady's just holding a box of things from her pet that had passed. Like and the one person who was having her memory wiped is an elderly woman she's specifically trying to erase the memory of losing her husband.
They did a good job with the dichotomy of it.
Yeah, so you can't handle the pain. Where I could understand erasing the memory of someone who had passed before, because that kind of removes any kind of ethical issues. Because they will never have that forced interaction in any way.
I do have to hop over to the meme stream for my producer duties.
Yeah, no
but
worries, man.
I do want to say the other thing too that I walked away from the film not knowing whether I liked or didn't like was Patrick. I thought Elijah
Wood.
Wood.
Yeah.
He did a great job portraying like the kind of the creepazoid. He gets under your skin a little bit, even though it's not as intent. And I just wanted to say that was a thing that I think reflecting back, I did like his performance because it got under my skin.
Yes.
But like when I was first watching, I was like, oh man, I just don't know, But like because he's like that guy who is slimy but can't help it. But he's just an absolute creepazoid, and I thought that element worked really well. But it's the one thing I think that because I want my wife to see this movie. I really want to know what she thinks of it.
Watch it again.
Well, absolutely, I will.
I don't like the movie. I watched it twice this week.
Yeah.
I'll tell you extra that the second time you watch it, you'll pick up on all the
you'll pick up
clues. You're like, oh, okay.
Some
yeah,
other
I get
things.
it.
I don't know if you've picked up about Kate Winslet hair color.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
her hair color matches the mood, and
yes.
There's extra things
She's
about
hot
this.
and cold, like especially the scene where she the scene where she decides she wants a baby, the elephant scene, like
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
all right, Zero.
yeah, it's
We'll
been a pleasure.
redirect to the meme stream as soon as we're done here. But thank you for coming.
Yeah,
Please, please follow this man and go to wherever he goes to do his serious podcast, man. I will
Go check out the
send
Legion of
me-
Memers.
Legion of
Just give us an extra hour or so of your time. We'll wrap up, and you can go some. Go see
and I will put the links that you've said in the description down below. So people can check you out.
Next time I'll get coverage, and we'll have I'll come back.
Next time there won't be any like pesky Jewish holiday on the Sunday, which will help you like dump everything on No Green Rocks for the production.
Good deal. All right,
buddy.
gentlemen.
Have a
I'll
good one.
catch you in the next one.
Take care.
I was gonna say about the hair, because we're all over the place, right?
Yes.
I wasn't aware. I was aware. I thought it was a mood thing, like Zero said. He might pick it up on the second time. It's not about the mood. It's about representing the 4 seasons, but also, and this is something I picked up before I went into the research of the movie, was I picked up something that I thought, then I got confirmed, which was when they meet for the very first time in Montauk, like the real meeting, she has green hair.
Yes.
Green is a sign of spring, but it's also the sign of the start. So it's a budding relationship. When it's red, it's fiery passion. It's the honeymoon stage of the relationship. Then when it goes into orange, it's like it's wilting. It's the end of summer. It's the end of that big fire, that big red fire. It kind of dies down into embers. That's the latter part of the relationship. And when it's blue, it's so cold, we're distant, we're not even seeing each other, or we've already broken up. So I thought about it. I got confirmed. I was like, okay, this is also the seasons.
There's only a flaw in that concept, though.
Okay, shoot.
Blue is the color when they meet the second time, and when they initially start.
I know
everything up again. So they are, yeah.
It is green when they first meet in that party in Montauk, though.
Yes, at the very first party. Yes,
for the very first season, and
party.
I thought it was actually hair coloring. It was all
wigs. Because they couldn't dye her. They couldn't constantly keep dyeing her hair. She would have no hair.
And also, apparently, they had 2 scenes that they always do this when they don't shoot it in sequence, right? That's not a new thing. It's like location dependent. Like
every film has done this since the dawn of time. You shoot what you can on location you have at the time in order to avoid just extraneous costs. It's
exactly
trying to reduce overhead. Yeah, we know it.
And with a script that is, generally speaking, very confusing to say the least, and also things that are shot out of sequence. And you get people doing improvisation or doing like extensive rehearsals like Kate and Jim did, where those rehearsals are, like you said, like made it into actual dialogue in the movie.
Yeah.
That hair dye you can't dye her hair two different colors in the same day that they have a scene. So it was all wigs.
Well, what's funny too is you know which wig was Kate's favorite, right?
The red?
Orange.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
The two pieces that I love the most from wardrobe was the orange sweatshirt and the orange wig. Kate Winslet.
Okay. My darling Clementine.
Yes.
By the way, every time he called her Clem in the movie, I was like,
yeah, you're thinking
call her Clementine. That's a unique name. I like it. But Clem?
Clam. How you doing, Clam?
How you doing, Clam? No. Mighty fine to eat you, Clam. So let's just bunk into the actual thing. When he goes into the office, you see the old lady, and when they start to map his brain.
Now, okay, we're going to talk about this scene just for a bit. So first of all, when Mary is printing off names, the first names that pop up in the printer, Chen, and I can't remember what the other one was, but they're actually the assistants of Kate Winslet and Jim Carrey.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like the real actual names?
Their actual names, yeah.
Printed out, do not, somebody erased you.
No, this person has erased it. Yeah. So the jump scares that actually happened when Stan jumped out and scared Mary when she was taking Joel back. Yeah, because Joel's trying to figure out what the fuck's going on because he got the note from Rob saying that Clementine had erased him. They had to do that shot several different times, and every single time Gondry had Mark Ruffalo hide in a different spot, so Kirsten Dunst would actually where he comes from. No, would actually be scared.
See, that's what I told you. With the Jim Carrey thing, Gondry told Kate Winslet to not be there, but he expected her to be there and just like they have a dialogue to do. So he was surprised. And Gondry fucked with all the actors in this one. Like he fucked with them a lot. And
well, I was going to get to this point, but I might as well state it now. At this point in time, Gondry stated that he wanted to create a film and have full control the way that Stanley Kubrick did.
After covering Kubrick extensively and knowing previously, I know exactly what he means. He didn't want the studio anywhere near this project.
And he didn't. In fact, Kaufman didn't even have any of the studios actually read any of the revisions of the screenplay.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, I'm all over the fence with Charlie Kaufman. I mean, being John Malkovich on one hand and adaptation on the other hand. And we'll get to adaptation someday, I promise you. I promised you a long time ago.
We're gonna bring someone else who actually really loves his films, and we're just gonna and you know who one of them. So,
well, it's really hard to get.
I know. But if you notice the fact that they have,
you don't know what I'm doing for next week. It's bending over backwards. It's insane, and I still might not even get it. Never mind.
Well, go ahead. So we have that. Just we're going to keep going. Then Joel going back after that conversation to Rob's. Then he rushes back when he actually gets the full confirmation of everything, saying that he wants to have the procedure done as well. And then there's if you notice when Mary is on the phone, she's talking to someone who's a previous client, mentioned the fact that, oh, yes, we're sorry. Yes, you can come back and have the procedure done again. As in, this is not Mary is not the only time, and the same thing with Joel and Clementine, where the procedure has essentially failed.
Yeah, and you kind of get it. You kind of get the feeling that it's not working because you had a full 18 minutes of them connecting. So if you're used to watching films that have those like it's not in sequence, not shooting as in the film is not in sequence, like Memento, like Pulp Fiction, all those things.
Mulholland Drive, yeah.
Mulholland Drive, all those movies. If you're used to watching this and you're watching the first 18 minutes and then suddenly it kind of flips on you, it's like, okay, wait, is it time just jumped into their breakup or what is going on? And you get that sense as soon as you get that phone call. I was like, oh, this procedure didn't work. It's like, okay, I get it. He mentioned he's missing 2 years. Maybe he erased 2 years of his mind. That's where your mind is like racing to if you're used to these kind of movies. So you're trying to figure what is the order in which you're supposed to see things. But this one is actually taking that little concept and kind of turning it on his head.
Yes,
because
very much so. Yeah,
the backward scenes that you see are actually sort of dream sequence like erasing your memory scenes, which is sort of to me it feels like really topsy-turvy because you don't know what's the end point in this.
Which I'd love so much because I know you didn't much care for the meandering style that it went through with a lot of the dream sequences.
We'll get
so
to what
much.
I think about it at the very end, but please continue.
So anyway, continuing on this point. So Joel finally having that conversation, like the one line in this film from the Dr. Howard, which I love so much, is there any risk of brain damage? Technically speaking, the procedure is brain damage.
Yes. And I was like,
But they said no more than a heavy night of drinking. So it's like,
yes, but I know, to me, as I've seen this a while back, and I was like, it's fine. I didn't like it. Watched it this time around. Yeah, it's fine. I didn't like it. I understand the concept, and I like the technical aspect of it. But in certain points, it kind of reminded me of sort of Total Recall, the original Total Recall, not the garbage that they remade later on.
Yeah.
It kind of like, it's the same kind of thing where they're giving you memories that you don't have. That's brain damage.
Yes.
But yeah, it kind of reminded me of Total Recall for some reason. But whatever. Anyway, so Patrick, we mentioned that he's a creepazoid.
Yes, and I did like the fact that that's.
I'm going to go back and forth with this because at the moment where Joel kind of drops off
Clementine.
Yeah. At the end of those first 18 minutes, you get to see Patrick's like, who are you? What are you doing here? And at first you were like, who is this fucking guy? This is like a concerned neighbor. And then you see him working for the doctor. It's like, wait a minute. Is he like checking up that she's really forgot Joel? And then the extra revelation.
Oh no! At that point in time, you get the whole thing where he basically stole Joel. Like, yes, it's very odd to say, but he was his identity thief. He stole.
It's sort of like he sort of undermined Joel to grab all his memories.
No, because he actually stole even all of
his mementos.
He stole all of the bags that he brought in, except for the one picture that Joel missed, which was her with the skeleton and Clementine's head drawn on top of the skeleton.
Yes,
that was the only bit that he had still left in his apartment, which you see at the very end of the film. But no, everything else Patrick had, and Patrick is basically trying to pawn himself off as a poor version of Joel, which was so odd is even though Clementine's memory had been erased, whenever there is a specific memory that would have been very impactful that Joel had said, whenever Patrick just recites something that Joel had said specifically, notice how Clementine reacts immediately.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is not right.
And as soon as the sort of mind, he leaves the office, then we get back to the point where Stan and Patrick are setting up shop, starting to delete the memories. And once they start to delete the memories on the outside, we get to see the inside of Joel's brain, and it immediately goes to orange phase Clementine, where it's let's say the ending part, or
The relationship, yes.
relationship kind of getting sour.
Yeah, which by far one of the most cutting remarks I've ever heard. Wow. No, that's before that, when she comes in like, oh, I think I crashed your car.
Yeah, that's
And if-
literally before this one. Literally before.
That's the more important scene than before this one, because that is the very linchpin moment right there where it's over.
Yes, I know, but I went straight to this because it was, to me, it was so weird that an impulsive kind of girl would immediately go into the most, I want to be settled down with a family and a baby. And I was like, that really doesn't match with Clementine. Is it impulsive to want a baby?
Yes, in so many ways it is. You know why, right? Because it's the last remark of a dying relationship when you're completely and utterly immature, where you think of, oh, I know what will fix us.
Is it the same thing as we're probably going to get a divorce, let's have a baby to keep us together?
Correct.
That sort of thing?
Yeah.
Well, I know
We know how often that works out.
I know all about that. I have a certain brother of mine that is a
product of
straight up, let's make a baby to not disintegrate the marriage, and that then last about 3-4 years after that, and it was over. Never mind. That never works. Do you think?
No.
Okay. I now realize something that I didn't realize in at least 4 other viewings, but it is what it is.
What's that?
That she wanted a baby to keep the marriage or the relationship
alive, to give it a purpose.
To me, it was always odd that an impulsive human being wants a baby. Who would trust you with a baby? I was on Joel's side at that point.
It's like, oh, well, yeah. Like,
why?
No, I would make a great mother. No, you definitely would not. You definitely would not. Given the fact the next night it was either the next night or that night which is the previous scene, she went out drinking, got drunk, drove into
she pulled a
fire hydrant.
In these days of 2023, we call that a Sophie Turner, but never mind. Yeah. Then they have the Chinese restaurant talk, and I was like, yeah, we kind of see where this is going.
Oh, everything. Yeah, with the are we that kind of couple that people look in the mirror and are just feel sorry for? Are we the dining dead?
Yes. Yeah. And I was like, that scene is rough. Yeah. Rough for anybody that's gone through a major breakup. Not a small breakup, a major breakup.
I love too is the way that they play their relationship from the most recent memories. So it actually is trying to set a pattern of how the procedure is done. So it's taking the most recent memories and going backward. That's why it's going in that order, where at the beginning of that night when she comes home drunk, Joel says that really terrible thing to her, which wow. Well, that's before she says something like, "Oh, well, because I know in your pathetic little mind you're thinking, did she fuck somebody?" Like, well, of course, I'm not wondering. I know you did. That's the only way you can get people to like you. It's like, ooh,
Ooh, that
oof,
like stings. They go right for the gut.
oof.
Both of them
Yeah.
do. Like both of
Well,
them go straight for the gut. But like I said,
but
that
that's exactly what you would do in this. If you're at the very end of a relationship and you are just this full of vitriol, like
yeah,
you are just. It's no holds barred here. You are
yeah,
saying the most heinous shit you can think of just to piss the other person off, just to hurt them more than they are hurting you. And
yeah.
everyone has been in that kind of fight with someone who has ever had a romantic relationship at all. You've been in that kind of fight before, where it's no longer even about the initial part of the argument anymore. And now it's just about like, I'm going to see how badly I can hurt you.
Yeah, it's literally two ships and they're just firing cannons at each other. Just mangle somebody.
Yeah.
And you don't even care. Two ships side by side firing cannons at each other. That's the image I've got. I'm sorry. What I'm not sorry is the fact that we didn't get to see Kirsten Dunst naked because apparently she had a massive sex scene
Yes,
with
there
Mark
was a
Ruffalo,
sex scene with Mark Ruffalo that
which was cut out of the movie.
cut out. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. Actually, to be perfectly honest, I actually liked Kirsten Dunst in that specific role.
As Mary,
It's-
I did too.
It's not something that I would see her in. It's different from Melancholia, which is really heavy, where she's basically Joel of that story.
Yeah.
In this one, it's you feel sad for her, but you root for her. But I just to the point where they're there, like sitting there, having a joint, drinking, like eating food. It's like,
And
these
also, can we say
employees
how goddamn unprofessional this is?
Yeah,
They're
these
erasing
employees
someone's
are
memory,
not
and
good.
they're just getting fucking wasted.
Yeah. It's like, if I was the doctor, I would be pissed. These people are not messing with like your appliances. These people are messing with his brain. It's like, oh
Yeah.
my God.
And which we've seen the fact that who knows how many other procedures have gone this way, where someone has tried to rebuff the process where they wanted to fight against losing their memory and what they had lost. Because could you imagine if it would actually like function the fact like, oh yeah, I forgot how to read.
Yeah.
I completely like my mind just I unlearned how to walk.
Yeah. Knowing what we know about like neurology and all that stuff, we admit that we don't know 99% of what's going on in the brain. And you've got
Let's
this
just say, look, Lacuna Inc. is probably not FDA approved. Okay.
No, not in the slightest. But yeah, it goes into crazy to crazy lengths, and you're like, these people are literally messing with his brain, and it literally shows up was like something got fucked because Joel was trying to hold on to the memories, and he fucked with their machine.
Yeah.
And they were like, and Stan was like, I don't know how it happened. We just lost him. And he calls up the doctor. I was like, Doc,
and it really was. I do believe that if Patrick had not meddled with it, Joel would not have been able to move into different portions of his memory.
Yeah. Because I had it queued up where we talked about this, where Patrick is literally getting everything from Joel
His mementos, yeah.
to mess with Clementine, not mess with her, but just undermine what Joel was doing. And
No. He's trying to completely and utterly replicate the situation where, because if she went to the effort to having him erased at some point in time, he must have been doing something absolutely right in order to have this woman fall in love with him. So again,
yeah, he's trying to regenerate those moments where it was full on infatuation, where they were strong with their relationship. However, it still pushes her buttons incorrectly because she figures out something's off, but she doesn't know what exactly is off.
Yeah, and we also have that whole bit too about the whole thing. Yeah, stealing the underwear, which is just, dude, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, I'm gonna move
We got there's a lot in the interim too. There,
I
just
know.
some quick little bits as you find some stuff. Mary quoting "Beyond Good and Evil," which is
Yes.
apropos quote. But before the dining dead scene, the dancing in their underwear, completely improvised. They just
Yeah, I had it on screen. Those ones are complete improvisation. They had an outline of dialogue. They had to hit certain points, but otherwise it was free for all and rewritten into the script and sent into revision. That's about it. But I mentioned the other lake scene where they had to make sure it's fully like this scene mirrors the start scene where you kind of piece together, okay, this is why this was very important because in this stage, Clementine with the red hair, it's the honeymoon stage, it's the infatuation stage, it's the fact that everything the other person is doing to you is absolutely great. So whatever Clementine does, whatever impulsive things she does, Joel is feeding off of that, and she gets grounded in terms of not going all the way out. She's grounded because Joel is very grounded, closed, and sort of settled in his ways. But there's a lot of back and forth in this part of the relationship. It's that part of the relationship where he draws her with the skeleton with her head, which kind of
there's also this is the first time the I could die right now bit is mentioned, and then Patrick attempts to basically imitate the exact same scene later. We also have, just as another aside to on the opposite side of the spectrum, we have Mary in the background, and notice that whenever there is an opportunity for Mary to somehow make some kind of flattering remark about Howard, she does constantly, which leads into the reveal at the end of the film about Howard and Mary at the end. So they're all just playing the same kind of games back and forth. Even in Joel's mind, what's going on is it's being erased with what's going on between Patrick and Clementine, where she knows that something is amiss because it seems familiar to her, and how Mary still has these feelings toward Howard.
And this is the point where he kind of realizes he wants to preserve either a certain amount of memories or a specific memory, or he sort of he wants to have takesies backsies. I don't know, moment.
Yeah, I want to call it off. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's still. We know that it's this part is all in his mind. It's the memories that he's trying to, take away or trying to move away to other places.
Well, it's his imagination, which I love. I love the fact how, again, I know you're not a big fan of this film, but I love how brilliant the screenplay is. Because even the characters that are basically versions of themselves in his mind even state the fact that, like, what can I do? I'm just in your imagination.
Yeah. I love the fact that there's a moment, I want to grab it, is this moment where he steals her away.
That's working like gangbusters. And then his eyes actually do pop open.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm going to wheel myself out of this dream state. And he kind of manages for a tiny bit. And this is what disturbs the machinery, right? This is where it disturbs the machinery. Stan and Mary don't know what to do. They call Patrick. Patrick is away. He's like on the lake at this moment with Clementine. You see them for a little bit just before this scene, and
they
call the doctor.
They were
basically.
he was able to retrace back to the memory that had been deleted before of him in the office, which is why he saw the woman with the face that was completely removed. Do you know who that
Yes.
woman was?
No.
That was the DP, Ellen Curris.
Oh, with the smushed
Yeah,
face
yeah.
technique. I don't know how they made it, but they, according to what I have, it's not CGI. They did something with to
No,
do
it
the
was actually
smudging.
no, it was actually superimposed in post. And you
Oh,
know what it was a
a
shot
layer,
of?
layer on layer on layer.
Yeah, do you know what it was though? It was a shot of
I don't know.
Gondry's knee.
Cool.
That's the same face later that you see with Howard. How his face is gone when he was able to retrace back there again. That's gone.
Yeah.
And if you notice that, it's only in one minor snippet with when he tries to retrace back to the memory of going to the Barnes and Noble. When he tries to push
Yes.
Patrick around,
Yes.
it's for a flash of a second. You can see that on Patrick's face.
Yes, I think there's a moment there with the doctor as well. Really short
Yeah,
moment.
I mentioned that. Yeah. Mhm.
That's like bursting. Yeah, never mind. I was looking at something else and I didn't listen because I'm an idiot. The scene where he's looking at himself as a kid, looking out and looking at the rain,
Rain.
and suddenly it rains inside the house. Didn't the inspiration was from a book or a song by Tom Waits? Something
Yes.
like that?
Yes, it
Right?
was a play by
Right?
Tom Waits. Yeah.
What exactly was it? Because I know it's in your notes.
I don't actually have it written down. I know it's just by Tom Waits.
So they wanted to, something to do with Charlie Kaufman wanted to incorporate a song about a rain that was Tom Waits. That's what I remember. I just don't have it in my notes. And they ended up not using it, but they used metaphors for it in this particular scene. Plus, I think either Cross or somebody has a CD of it and it flashes on the screen
Yes.
for
Yep.
a
Mhm.
split second because they couldn't fit it in the movie. Either they couldn't buy the rights or something like that. But it's sort of like it's there, and they wanted to use the song here in this particular moment where he kind of looks back in his childhood. This scene where it seems like Jim Carrey is small and Kate Winslet is big with
Yes.
the mom. That's forced perspective
Yes, which was utilized most notably in
Lord of
The
the
Lord of
Rings.
the Rings. Yes.
Yes.
In order to keep it actually like fully a full practical effect that was done.
Yeah.
And I will always still just like, I don't know why it still makes me laugh. She's like, Julie, look. When she shows her paintings, she goes, yuck.
Yeah. To be fair, when Jim Carrey is like under the table and behaving like a 4-year-old or a 6-year-old him,
He was 4. Yeah.
he was the most Jim Carrey in that moment. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, here it is. Here's like liar Jim Carrey or whatever. Like, yeah, he can pull it off and he can pull from that little comedic thing, but he did it not trying to make people laugh. He was genuinely
No, he
trying
generally
to
tried
be
to
a
act
4-year-old.
like a 4-year-old. And the fact that he even mentions that, he goes, I just want her to pick me up. Wow, it's so crazy how strong this desire is.
Yep. I want to get to a specific spot because during this whole thing, you get to see like Mary and Stan trying to fix up the house because they were really messy, and then they were waiting for the doctor because the doctor just called, and then it goes back and forth to 4-year-old Joel and Clementine. It's like it goes back and forth really, really quickly. And you don't get to spend a lot of time during like those scenes. It goes really fast, which is odd because most of the scenes were not, right? it was way more methodical.
Yeah.
And then Clementine joins them under the table, kind of forcing the forced perspective to be the same size. And then for some reason they end up at a sink.
Well, no, it's him as a baby.
Yeah.
Because he's trying to push back memories that would go so far as to not include her in any way, shape, or form. So this would, of course, be one that she would never be a part of. And this is also the reason why she can't, well, he can't even remember the Huckleberry Hounds. Oh my darn Clementine! I know there's a bit of there. It's very odd to see that, like, this is the reason why he can't remember it, because obviously he would have encountered it later in his life too, so he would eventually learn it. But this is a clever way of just having it say that this is the root cause. This is the first time he had ever heard it, so that's why he can't remember it, like as a root memory, as part of like basically like booting something, and you just deleted the entire main file, and all the subdirectories are just deleted.
Yeah, but there's a story with that sink. Apparently, Kate Winslet was there for a very long time with Jim Carrey, and she either fainted or got
fainted.
sick.
Yeah, she fainted and couldn't continue filming, but Gondry was adamant about continuing to film. Jim Carrey was furious about this.
Yeah,
and absolutely refused to go back on set until he knew that Kate Winslet was okay and 100% ready to continue filming that day.
Yeah. That was about it. It was, to be absolutely fair, a scene I could let go, but I know there's plenty of scenes in this movie where I was like, okay, fine, I get it. And they just took a little bit too long for me. I don't know what it is. Some of them were just a little bit too long. Even when they're trying to fix the problem and get stuff back on track for Joel, get all this, like, get the memories sorted out, get everything like back on track. I was like, it took just a little bit too long, but the movie is not overly long. It's just an hour. It's what, 104 minutes, 107 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not a long movie.
107 minutes with credits, an hour and 4-minute real runtime.
Yeah. So during that whole phase where they're trying to shift him into like perfect gear, you get to see a little bit of Joel. This is what, 6-year-old Joel, I would say. It's not 4, where he mangles that bird because everybody was like goading him to do it. And I felt for him.
Oh, wow. You skipped a lot there.
I know. I skipped the whole point where the doctor comes in. You see Mary kind of talk to the doctor as if she's not just an employee.
What's more pertinent there is the fact that his eyes were open.
Yes.
And they had to put him back under.
Yeah.
Because even Howard had not witnessed an occurrence like this before. And this is due to Patrick's tampering beforehand.
Yeah.
This is why when you thought that Elijah Wood was playing an interesting scumbag, no, he's a fucking monster.
No, Zero thought he was being a creep. To be perfectly honest, him taking all the different stuff from one guy and trying to impress or undermine or whatever you want to call it, and just make make the girl fall in love with him because he's personifying her last boyfriend without her knowing it's her last boyfriend is really, really scummy. Like really, really scummy.
Yes.
But it kind of works for him for a time.
But the more important thing is,
let's just say this: you believe Elijah Wood as Patrick.
Yes,
right.
I don't knock his performance, because I thought it was a great performance, and that's the most important thing about it is you can hate the character, but the actor did an amazing job.
Yeah.
but during those scenes, they have just the escalation of how fast the Howard is able to basically just put Joel back on track with them, and they had the scene at the outdoor movie theater with
Yes.
them getting out of it, and the Volkswagen Bug in front of just disassembling in front of him.
Yeah, and the moment where there's one of the only CGI shots where the car kind of falls down
Falls down, yeah, with that
after
screaming.
after the screening.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, they put some sort of green screen there just to make sure she's not actually there while the car's falling
Car
down.
falls, yeah.
Yeah. Which
But then we also just have moving on to the one little humiliation scene where he got caught.
he got caught.
Caught doing what little boys do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Some scenes. And
Then it went to the bird in the cart, which was so interesting because the girl that Clementine is portraying is the picture of the girl that she showed him.
Yes, which if you didn't do a double take, you might have just missed it. To be perfectly honest,
Yeah.
But like we told Zero, is like, yeah, if you like this movie, and I don't knock anybody that loves anything, right? If you love this movie and you find it odd, it was like, I need to watch this again. What? Pure simple. Just watch it again. Watch again. See what you missed, and you'll probably miss like 7 other things that you missed. What I like about this scene, and I did like this scene just after it when he kind of leaves the boys.
Oh, when he comes back,
Joel
wait,
the
what am I
man.
doing? I'm not afraid of you anymore. And he twists his arm, going, ow, ow, ow.
Yeah, it's Kate and Jim actually interacting with those kids,
Yeah.
and I caught it there. And when I remember watching it for the very first time, and I continuously on every rewatch, those kids are absolutely laughing
Yeah.
in that take. They couldn't help themselves. So
Because they were having fun.
yes,
Yeah.
because Jim was having fun with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that whole interaction with them being an adult, but they're supposed to be kids.
Yeah, and they have that. And they played the pillow game.
Yeah,
And they
the
showed them
pillow
playing
game.
with adults. What's just it's just gonna jump way back before, but there is another one where Jim Carrey as Joel is laying down. And he puts I think it's his hoisin sauce across his throat and lays back and pretends he's dead. That was an homage to a film we watched before.
A Dawn of the Dead?
No.
Rules
of Attraction.
Oh, that's right.
That was actually written as an homage to that film because
Really?
Kaufman's favorite book by Bret Easton Ellis was The Rules of Attraction. And he actually liked the film.
See, me and Charlie Kaufman do not vibe on most things, I guess.
I know it's because you have bad taste. It's okay. We've established this.
Moving on. Maybe I have bad taste. Maybe it's time for Screen Fighter. Let's just go with that.
Round 1, fight.
Screen Fighter is where we take 2 movies, pit them together, and see which one is the best one. If there's no discernible difference between the two, or I have bad taste, we fight. Which is Saturday evening, Friday evening, out with the boys, out with the girls, out with their significant other. 2 movies in a vacuum. Which one will we pop in and go? Captain America, Winter Soldier, or Ed Wood?
As much as I
most
genuinely really enjoyed the fact that they were able to make basically a spy thriller out of Captain America, I love Ed Wood so much. That movie is just so outrageously bad it's good. And that was the entire point of it being made.
I know. It's part of the 1994 kind of contender to be the greatest year in movie history.
Yeah.
It's a contender. I'm not sure it's going to be there. Ed Wood is a very, very weird movie that
It's about Ed Wood. I mean, what would you expect?
because it plays so much on itself, but you can enjoy it without ever knowing who Ed Wood was.
Yeah.
Now, Captain America: Winter Soldier is considered to be one of the best of the Marvel universe. It's
I wholeheartedly agree with this sentiment. Yeah.
it's after the Disney takeover, but it was already in production. It's the Russo brothers. It's a really solid Marvel movie. I would not put it against Ed Wood. Even though, you know what? I think 95% of people would actually watch Captain America: Winter Soldier over Ed Wood.
Yeah, because they would know frame of reference. Yeah.
All right, Alita Battle Angel.
You don't even have to ask. You already know what my
33 1/3.
No, God no. I would rather watch Alita Battle Angel any day of the week. I hate the Naked Gun. I hate all of them. You know this.
Okay. Can you tell me at least, by the way, it's a 1994 movie. Can you tell me at least what is Leslie Nielsen trying to imitate? It's a very famous picture. Just for general knowledge. All right. So
I can't remember
back in the day, Demi Moore,
it was Demi Moore.
After she married,
she was pregnant with Bruce Willis. Yeah,
Bruce Willis.
Because that's technically that's baby Rebel Wilson. Yeah,
not Rebel Wilson. It is Rumor Wilson.
Rumor
Willis. Anyway, this was splattered all over Vanity Fair, and this was one of the first ones ever made, I think. But okay, Battle Angel it is. Bad Taste. I haven't seen Bad Taste. Snakes on a Plane.
I will have to say though. Well, this is an easy one.
I know. What were you gonna say? Bad Taste over
Bad
Snakes on a
Taste.
Plane?
You'll actually really enjoy. It's a terrible horror film because Peter Jackson made a shitload of really terrible horror films. By the way,
in Bruges,
is
no
so good.
contest. Baby Driver or Babe.
Baby Driver is actually a really fun movie.
Okay.
I'm not going to complain about that. Babe is just
All right, you want me to go first then?
Go
it's
ahead.
Baby Driver, although I didn't quite enjoy it as much as I wanted to. It's meh. Okay? It's meh. I really didn't like Babe. I didn't like Babe. That's all I can say. It wasn't for me. Wasn't for me. All right. Last one, I think. No, not last one, because I haven't seen Public Enemy. It's a Cagney movie, right? Yeah, James Cagney.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen Moonrise.
Ed Wood. Go ahead. Just
It's
put on.
an Ed
Put on.
Wood?
Put on. Haven't seen it. Well,
I should have pressed not seen both, but okay.
But yeah, well, that's a very easy one. Yeah. Okay.
Fine. War of the Worlds. Beautiful.
Have you seen that one?
I have seen that one. Or
Okay.
Wild Wild West.
Well, we can. Yeah. Well, that one's fucking giant spider. I mean, what? Huh?
Right. Okay. So we're done because it's Howl's Moving Castle. Even though I'm not a big Enemy guy, it's not.
I mean, well, I think that's Miyazaki's best film. So, what are you gonna do?
Actually, the next one is Day of the Dead from ’85 and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Day of the Dead.
Definitely pick Day of the Dead, even though I'm not a horror guy.
Even though Day of the Dead's one of the weaker ones of ever made, but
I would take a weaker one for a Harry Potter movie because I love the books and I hate what they did with the movies. Ugh, never mind. Anyway, back to the movie. I've shown the pillow scene where as the kids doing the pillow.
Yeah.
What was that game? I've never played that game. To me, it's the erotic asphyxiation game
Asphyxiation. It's
for
just
kids.
it's just a messing around thing. Yeah, it's not actually trying to really hurt someone or anything. It's just it's playing pretend. That's
Yeah.
all.
And then it switches to and to me, I've never seen this before. I didn't even know if it was real snow or not, but they were playing on that beach in Montauk.
Yeah.
And Zero said it from time to time it does happen.
Yeah, no, it does. It does.
I've never seen in movies at least. First of all, I've barely seen enough snow in real life because of the desert. But I didn't even think it's possible because of the ocean and stuff. But if you say so, you say so.
Precipitation happens.
All I know is if it's close to an ocean or a large body of water, you won't necessarily have snow on a snowy beach like this. But it's never mind. Let's jump forward a little bit. When the jig is
Fighting.
up.
But we do have just the just from them fighting on the beach, we have Mary's insistent flattery, then her
Yes.
quoting.
It transfers into the reveal of the Alexander Pope poem.
Well, she quoted Nietzsche first.
Yeah.
Then she said, then she quoted Alexander Pope. It was Pope Alexander, as she said his name.
Yeah. And
we have the circus scene that's happening during the background.
Yeah. The whole point of Alexander Pope, I didn't even know who Alexander Pope was until I read the Da Vinci Code. But I'm dumb as a box of rocks sometimes, but it is what it is. I'm an uncultured couth, I would say. Anyway, Mary had a little lamb. Mary, the doctor's wife comes in. She sees Mary and the doc almost kissing in the window, or kissing, and she does 1 + 1.
She walks over and punches Stan too. Thanks, Stan.
Yeah. And of course, they have that whole interaction with the doctor and
the call up that the wife makes is fantastic.
Yeah. And
don't be cruel to the poor girl.
Yeah, and then you kind of have that reveal of he erased her memory, or she asked him. She asked him to erase the memory, and I was like, I thought he erased it against her will because I remembered it differently. And then rewatching it, I was like,
no,
you idiot! Of course, she absolutely is infatuated with him. Otherwise, releasing the tapes to everybody at the end wouldn't make sense.
Well, it actually would have made more sense if he had done it to her against her will, as a point of vengeance.
Or if he would have done it to her on purpose, it would have been, first of all, unnecessarily cruel and sort of covering his own tracks.
Yeah.
But the doctor isn't as creepy as Patrick. Patrick would have done it against her will.
Yeah, which I don't. The only thing I blame Howard for is rehiring the poor girl. Is bringing her back into that sphere. From there,
and maybe that's why the wife said, "Don't be cruel."
Yes, because it's already been done before. It's like you can have him. In fact, you already have before. I mean, it's just
she was super aware of what's going on. And then that whole scene that sort of like when they I don't know if we mentioned it or not, because when they erase the memories, they go backwards in the relationship.
We
It's
mentioned
from
it's from the end of the relationship all
the
the way to
end
the beginning.
into the start, and this is actually the start where they first met in Montauk in this party with his close best friends, the ones where he discovers
Rob and Carrey. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I mentioned this, it's the green hair rather than being all out blue.
Mhm.
And during that whole
The
kind of
orange
discussion,
sweatshirt that I
that
grow to
orange
love and I grow to
sweatshirt
hate.
that you love, and it's Kate Winslet loves, never mind. And then we have that full scene where you understand her impulsiveness of going into this house and it's empty, and then it collapses on itself in that
Well-
second CGI.
Well, they
thing.
have there's the whole build up into this too. Where
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to move things along. They come in at night. It's not at the party. It's right after the party is over.
Well,
But-
what's brilliant too is in the interim they have a small glimpse of another callback scene where they're walking through the Barnes and Noble and all the books have their covers facing inward, so all you
Yeah.
can see is that the pages facing outward.
Yeah.
Because obviously you couldn't remember every single book, you just know that there were books there.
Yeah, it happens after this. I just run it through.
Oh, because the collapsing is later than this.
No,
it's right after this. Yeah,
It's right after this.
the collapsing happens after this, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, after the blanks. Anyway, no, we have that, and then we have the juxtaposition between the bit like, do you live with anyone? A
Yeah,
woman.
are
The
you
mention of
married?
Naomi again.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's just a name, and suddenly she evaporates from this memory.
It's someone in Ruth. Look, I'm gonna go change because I am currently ruthless.
And after she evaporates, he just wakes up because it's the end of the evening, and you're stuck, sort of like, okay, so
Oh, well, you are glossing over the most important bit
okay,
of his regret that night.
yes. It kind of shows on the doctor's face as well. It was like, oh, we've been through a hell of an evening.
Oh,
Both-
no. We're talking about Joel's interaction with Clementine the first night when they're in the house, when she went upstairs and the house starts to break down. And when Joel left, he goes, because she asked him, why did you leave that night? I said, I don't know. I was scared. I wish I would have stayed. And his regrets about that. And then the asking for like, what would happen if you just stayed that night? And that's the whisper of meet me in Montauk.
Yes.
That's the pertinent part here that goes back to the beginning of the film.
Yeah, it's sort of you would call it a waypoint or a point of reference in the relationship where it it always kind of circles back around to them meeting up again, because it's not just the Montauk thing wasn't just Joel's point of reference. It was also Clementine's point of reference, even though we don't see her side of the sort of memory
Correct.
deletion.
And we don't know exactly what she gave, so that the reason why she might remember something is she could have missed something. That
I
sparking
think she
these...
did miss something, but I don't remember.
Well, the most important thing is the fact that like you don't know what she actually had erased. So
No, you
whenever
don't.
she has those interactions with Patrick where she'll like flip out, especially whenever she quotes something that Joel had said, maybe she kept something as a memento. Or maybe she had something that was set aside that was a memory that wasn't erased. So she remembers somebody saying that, but she can't remember who that is. So you could see how that would actually drive you a little bit crazy.
Yeah. I want to get to the point where I just missed it. Yeah, this one.
Oh,
When
there is
Joel-
also that set aside, well, the beginning here too, but the very during the scene where the house is falling apart and everything, we also have Mary going back to the office and finding her tape.
Yes,
playing it back.
listening. Yeah, listening to it. It comes before the house bit, sort of a buffer between Joel meeting Clementine for the very first time, right before it goes to the evening part where they
Yes.
basically break into the house. It's Mary in the office getting the tapes and listening to them and understanding why it was difficult and why she wanted it erased.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it literally comes into realization. I not only have to leave, but I want to like put a stick in somebody's, bicycle and just flip over the entire picture on its head. I like the fact here where Joel looks at the car and it's wrecked, but it's he did it. It's not the wreck that Clementine talked about, where she said, "I wrecked your car."
No, it is.
Yeah, he was stuck in a hydrant earlier as well. Like he did it too. It's not just her. Never mind.
No, that's no, that was the accident that Clementine had, and he had to drive it out.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's why he couldn't remember it happening, because she had done it and it was a memory of her doing it. So that's why he even wrote the little note that would thank you and put it on his neighbor's car, and his neighbor would be like, you're welcome.
Yeah. And this is what I said about they don't know which town you're in, but you're not in New York, because when you look at the train,
Oh
it
no,
says to New York.
they're outside New York. That's
Yeah.
what they are, because the train's all around there.
Yeah. And it goes back around to this point. Goes back around to this point where
Joel sitting outside. Yeah.
Joel's sitting outside crying. This is after he talked to Patrick or just before?
This is right after Patrick and Kim talked to him. He's like,
Yeah.
okay, well, that was a weird interaction. And
And then
right before this too, there was that interaction that Stan had with Mary, Mark Ruffalo's character had with
yes, right outside
where she had the notes already piled in the back there, so she had everyone's names to send them all the letters, and also the tapes of the recordings, which is, I think what she did is pretty awful too, because a lot of people didn't want that information back.
Yeah, and when he goes out to visit Clementine, they hear the tape.
Yeah, because
And
she
Joel
has
thinks,
Joel like, "Are you
thinks
messing
he's
with me?"
Messing with him.
Yeah.
And you at this moment you're like, this isn't going well at all. Because at this point you're like, oh, they found each other again, and now it's gonna go to hell. Because you're rooting for this couple, even though you can clearly tell from the memories of the breakout point that their personalities do not match at a certain point, which is a shame.
Yeah, which is that the best part about this is Kaufman in his retrospective about the film. Actually, I'll hold that off until the very end of the film, because it'll make more sense when we get to the end of it. So we have
we're at the end. I mean,
yeah, we're getting there. So we have Clem's interpretation of her erasure, the reasons why she wants to have Joel erased. Joel just basically forces her out of the car. Clementine can't let it go. She ends up finding where Joel lives, goes to his apartment, and runs into Frank, the neighbor, who had the Lacuna the mail. Who has mail anymore?
Yes.
But he obviously didn't read it because he's, oh, hey, Clementine. And she has no idea who he is.
Yeah, because either she hasn't run. Well, she if he knows her, then she probably knows him just by going to Joel's apartment.
Joel's, yeah. But all the
Yeah.
memories of Joel were erased, so it's just some random guy that knows her name. But this has been a weird fucking day to begin with, so who are
Yeah.
you to guess what's in the hell's real anymore?
Exactly. And then
But-
she goes up to the.
But Joel actually has his door open and has the tape playing, and he says, "Look what I found!" And he finds the skeleton.
Exactly.
Well,
But they still can't reconcile because he has heard what she thinks it's like all the bad things of him and why she wants him erased. And he listened to his tape, right? About why all the bad things that she has done and why he wanted to break up with her. And they're sitting in that apartment and it's very awkward.
Well, and there's the one line too about how she has sex to get what she wants and stuff. It's like, I don't think that about you. And it's like, I don't even know that about you. And they're too utterly confused about the fact that they know each other so intimately, but they don't know each other at all.
Yeah.
And as she goes to leave, he runs after her, and they kind of just resign themselves to the fate that's before them, where they realize that this person is someone important to me, and that's been taken away. Perhaps this was supposed to happen. And again, she gets to say that the line that got her the best supporting actress Oscar nomination about being this. She's not a concept, you know. She's not going to be there to be a point of self-actualization or anything. You know, she's just a fucked up girl trying to get her own peace of mind. I think that's, sorry, I'm misappropriating the quote, but anyway,
it's fine. It's all.
But no, from there, then it has it going right into, again, everybody's got to learn sometime, and then with them running on the beach, and that's how the film ends. And that's, I know you don't like this film, but it's such a poignant ending.
I'll say this. We'll do a summary because I want you to have a full detailed summary. To me, in terms of there are elements in the movie that I enjoyed and I liked. Like I said, elements, performances, concepts of the movie. But when I'm sitting down and watching it, I'm like, there's something here that I don't like. Is it the methodical sort of exploring your thoughts and feelings that I don't like? I don't know, because I like it in other movies, right? I do like to exploring social concepts, feelings, morals, all that stuff. But in some way, I like that more direct rather than just going around and around and around, sometimes in circles, to get to a certain point. I didn't like Jim Carrey as Joel at all. The performance, I'm trying to separate maybe I didn't like Joel the character. Let's just say that. Not Jim Carrey. I didn't like Joel the character. I didn't like Clementine the character. I couldn't connect with what they're bringing to the table. I understand why they got together, but I really understand why they broke apart in terms of his character type, her character type. It's sort of like Along Came Polly, but much more grounded in reality, where Along Came Polly, it's a silly rom-com of people torn out from both sides of the spectrum, but it's literally Joel and Clementine in the real world. Without the stupid friend and without the sci-fi bits and without the extra.
I know.
But I couldn't connect with them. So if I couldn't connect with them, it really is a slog for me to go through the movie, especially trying to, figure out all the different concepts that they were trying to tell me about childhood memories, smells, tastes, and songs. So music is a factor here in terms of recollection and memory and all that. And the stuff that I didn't like about this movie is the same stuff that I didn't like in Memento as well. Those memory elements that I didn't like are the same memory elements that I didn't like in Memento as well.
Okay.
Do I appreciate it as a specific piece? Certainly. Do I like the movie? No. Absolutely not.
Fair enough.
Please tell me what you love about this movie.
Okay. What I find interesting is I can understand not liking the way that the concept of memory is utilized in Memento, but it's utilized differently in this film specifically for that reason, and it's supposed to showing the degradation as a part of the process in order for it to really to show the audience. And again, it's again, you like it when they show not tell. And in this film, they're literally showing the process occurring. So I thought that you would have enjoyed that a little bit more than you did, which is perfectly fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion,
even if it's wrong. Hey, I told you this. For any piece of media, okay? For any piece of media, even if I think it's terrible, or even if I think it's the epitome of creation, okay? You're entitled to like whatever you like. I won't knock you down for it, especially if you have, let's say, good reasons to like a certain something. I love Hudson Hawk. I am fully aware it's a crap movie, but I like The Room for a whole different reason.
Yeah.
And it's a train wreck of a movie. It's an absolute dog shit movie.
Yes. But for this, I will have to just comparing works done by Kaufman that I know that you have watched. Comparing this to, let's say, I'm thinking of ending things. I could see you not enjoying I'm thinking of ending things. I thought you would actually enjoy this a lot more in comparison to that film.
Oh, I like this way more than I like I'm thinking of ending things.
Thanks.
I caught on to the different aspects of what is going on. I know what is going on, and like I said, the concept with the hair color, I caught on real quick, and then I got it confirmed by Michel Gondry himself talking about it,
which I find funny, which was off, but anyway. That's very nitpicky because Gondry has been contradictory in his statements about that too. But anyway,
thank heavens.
Anyway,
a person that does this to a movie and then being a contrarian to his own work in an interview, how quaint.
Yes, but for you to actually say that you actually enjoyed being John Malkovich, I don't get that, because that's one of Kaufman's works that I didn't enjoy.
Wow, really? We need to cover this maybe
because I found the characters in Being John Malkovich utterly insufferable and having no redeeming qualities whatsoever.
Now we really need to.
So that's why I find that it's a very interesting juxtaposition.
Hey, maybe I remember it not correctly. I watched it in the theater and I fucking loved it. Okay.
Well, we'll discuss it, but it might be like another True Romance for you.
You know what? It may have well been, and we need to do adaptation as well.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Forever since I've been an adaptation, but no, for this film, you know how much I genuinely do adore this film, because I do believe that Kaufman had, during a retrospective that he actually wrote about this film, so that what I think about Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is the concept of that you cannot escape your past, no matter how hard you may try. And this is why you see the recurring themes of characters coming back and repeating the same cycle over and over and over again, as if they were pulled in the same orbit, as if they were not predestined, but it had to happen in order to something to move along. In so many ways, it's almost like setting up time travel, but it's
it's sort of a time loop, but it's not a time
not
loop.
a time loop. Yeah. And also just that the themes around the time I was going through, like you had such a personal connection to the film that we watched last week, Poem of the Falcon.
Yes.
This film it came out during a very turbulent time in my life and was very pertinent to what was going on then. I was going through a very similar breakup phase, and
you share as much as you or
I will just say that we've all had our Clementines in our life.
Even I
or
even though
on the other hand,
I've been sort of settled down in the past 20 plus years. Even I had a Clementine.
Yes. Well, and it also true. Clementine is not specifically for males either. Sorry, for females either. There are plenty of male Clementines out there.
Oh,
there are plenty of female.
Yeah, we're talking about just the archetype of
yeah.
the loopy, happy-go-lucky, impulsive individual. Not necessarily a girl in that role.
I wouldn't classify Clementine as happy-go-lucky.
You know what I mean. Aloof, we'll call it.
Aloof, yes.
Aloof.
But no, it just going through that phase in my life, that this film really did speak to me, and I think it spoke to a lot of people because, again, heartbreak and trying to move through it and move past it is something that everyone has done, and I think that this film speaks more to the audience than any of Kaufman's other work, because initially you would think, would it ever be possible to eliminate these bad memories from my mind? Could I just have, because everyone has thought of this, to be fair, everyone has just thought, if I could just erase that memory, if I could just erase that year of my life and just never think of it again, it would just be gone. I would do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah, but if you really think about it, it's very childlike to think that.
Yes. Yeah. It's, again,
like I said, the metaphors in this movie did not escape me, even though sometimes maybe it was too obvious for me. I don't know. It's a pretty messed up, complicated, motif-driven, metaphor-driven movie, and it serves a purpose to show you what's the real moral choice of a child saying, well, I just want these bad memories to go away.
Yeah.
And you dive deep into that moral thought of, wait, what's really going to happen? And you got moral questions and ethics and all that stuff all wrapped around with it, because we're living in the real world. We're real adults. And the sci-fi bit in it about the memory thing, it's really played down, and you don't actually need it, because that brings a whole different, dimension of realism to the whole thing. If you take that away, that's actually a good choice, because all you're left with is the morals and ethics of that whole idea of
the procedure
erasing
itself.
memories. Yeah. Anything else? Or we'll wrap things up in a nice little bow.
No, I will. Again, I think this is probably Kaufman's most grounded work overall, because the themes and overarching narrative are so easily digestible, and perhaps as you mentioned, the fact that it may be a little bit too obvious, and that's why you didn't care for it. But
maybe it's obvious to me. That's what I said.
But for you to not like, I'm thinking of ending things and me basically having to deliver a dissertation on the film when we did the review, because you're like, I don't know, man. I was
lost. I was lost. I understood the concept at the end, but I was lost with that movie. But
once I actually got to the point of the end, you went, oh, okay, I can see where it's going now.
yeah, but what I'm saying about this movie is, yeah, I get why people like it. I get why it's situationally for a lot of people. If they watched it and had that sort of experience, why they
emotional
gravitate towards this. It's not for me.
No,
So
perfectly fair.
I can't say I liked it.
That's fair.
You know what I did like? I liked talking about it with you and Extra Zero, which is a surprise because it didn't tell me he didn't watch this for the very first time.
First time, yeah.
Yeah. But it is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, that kind of brings us to the end of the show. This stream will divert itself into the Legion of Memer stream, where the happenings of craziness is going on over there. If you do like all the different shows that Extra Zero does are not currently in the description down below, but after the show, it will be there once I get all the different links from him, because I do want you to check out all the different stuff that he does, because he is very passionate, especially about the figures, which I didn't know about. But please take care of yourself, and of course, remember, hope is a good thing, maybe even the best of things, and no good thing ever dies. Good night. You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go. Next week, it's Falling Down with Michael Douglas. Watch that shit. It's really good.